These are the dogs of kings and queens. Its name says Japanese. Its story begins in China, more than 1,000 years ago. Small flat-faced dogs were carried along the Silk Road and given as gifts to Buddhist monks, who bred them in sheltered monasteries. Eventually, they were presented to the emperors of Japan, and there they became something no other dog in the country was: royalty. In Japan, every other dog is an Inu. Only this one is a Chin. The distinction was the point. Peasants were forbidden to own them. The smallest was said to be kept in cages, like songbirds, hand-fed chips of ice in summer, warmed on silk pillows in winter, tread on a sleeping Chin's tail, and you answered to imperial law. For 2 centuries, Japan sealed itself off from the world, and the Chin vanished behind palace walls, almost never seen by Western eyes. Then, in 1854, the doors opened. When Commodore Perry's ships sailed home, they carried imperial gifts, and among them, these tiny dogs. Many did not survive the voyage. Those that didn't were buried at sea, wrapped in silk. But a few reached England. Queen Victoria fell in love, and a dog bred for emperors began a second life in the courts of Europe. Some dogs are named after a place. This one is named after a man, a king who loved his spaniels, by most accounts, rather more than he loved governing. Charles II came to the throne in 1660, after years of exile and the execution of his father. He had lived through civil war and betrayal, and in his spaniels, he found something the court could not offer: loyalty without motive. He was, contemporaries complained, never without them. 2 or 3 trailed him everywhere, to council rooms, to the royal bedchamber, even to church. The diarist Samuel Pepys grumbled that the king played with his dogs while affairs of state went unattended to Charles. That may have been the point. There is a famous legend that he issued a decree allowing his spaniels into any public building, even Parliament. It's a wonderful story, repeated for centuries. Parliament itself says there's no such law on record, but the legend endured for a reason. It was easy to believe of a king who so plainly adored them. These dogs were loyal to the end. When Mary, Queen of Scots, was beheaded, her little spaniel was found hidden in the folds of her skirt, refusing to leave her side. Half a century later, when Charles I met the same fate, his spaniel was there too. Whatever befell their masters, the spaniels stayed. Long before the lapdogs of European courts, there was a dog that ran beside pharaohs. The Greyhound is among the most ancient breeds on earth. Sleek, deep-chested dogs appear on Egyptian tomb walls, drawn more than 4,000 years ago. The Egyptians revered them. The birth of a greyhound was said to rank second only to the birth of a son, and when one died, the household would mourn and weep. They were never sold, only given as gifts, from one ruler to another. From Egypt they spread to Greece, to Rome, and at last to medieval Britain, where they became the unmistakable mark of nobility. In 1014, King Canut's forest laws made it illegal for any common man to own one. To keep a greyhound was to declare your rank. Knights had themselves carved into their tombs with a greyhound lying faithfully at their feet, to follow them into the next world. For a breed that asked for nothing but the chase, it had become one of the most aristocratic dogs. The last of our royal dogs was never bred for palaces at all. It was bred to herd cattle in the hills of Wales, a short-legged farm dog, nipping at the heels of beasts 10 times its size. Its rise to royalty came down to 2 small girls and 1 good decision. In 1933, the Duke of York, soon to be King George VI, brought home a Pembroke Welsh Corgi for his daughters. They named him Dookie. One of those daughters was a young Princess Elizabeth, and the attachment she formed would last the rest of her life. On her 18th birthday, she was given a corgi of her own, Susan. Susan was so beloved she was smuggled and hidden under blankets into the royal carriage on Elizabeth's honeymoon. And from Susan came a dynasty, more than 30 corgis across the Queen's reign, 14 lines, all descended from that single birthday gift. For 70 years, the most famous woman in the world was rarely photographed without them, trotting at her heels through the halls of Windsor. A farm dog from Wales had become the living emblem of a crown. 4 dogs, 4 crowns, separated by thousands of years and thousands of miles. In a world built on power and suspicion, they offered devotion, which asks for nothing in return.